Hi, everyone, and welcome into what we're going to call the State of the Club address for Oakland County Football Club. I've got the two co-owners here with me tonight. I'm Mitch Gatsky, and I'm joined by Nick Morana and Theo Foutris. How's it going, guys?
Good, thanks, Mitch.
Going good.
Thanks for joining us here tonight. We are going to just get your guys' thoughts on everything that's going on around the club, answer some of the supporters' questions, and try to have some fun. This is your opportunity to kind of release some plans that you might have for this summer and going into next. As we know, the season unfortunately won't be happening in a formal sense, but we do have some other plans, and I'll let you guys get into those. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead and give us a little opening statement.
Theo, I'll give you the honors.
Yeah, so as you know, we're all pretty devastated. Things didn't pan out to how we wanted them to. When we were just before the New Year's, when we found out the news that we were going to USL2 and kind of taking this big, leap forward, getting ready, ramping up. We got hit with the virus, and now we're, kind of slowly dealing with it day by day, week by week, and trying to do the best we can to hang in there and offer something to the fans and community and the players as we go here. So it's definitely trying us.
Yeah, just to echo what Theo said, we had that great bit of momentum entering the later part of last year with the announcement to USL2. Man, we had just a plethora of plans, new game day experiences, everything kind of creeping through the pipeline. And then come early February or whatever it was, we kind of got hit by this. And, everyone tried holding on for as long as possible. But at the end of the day, it was the right call. It was definitely the right call for it. But it's unfortunate no matter kind of which way you look at it.
You mentioned all the new things that were coming up this season, new league, new coach, new game day experiences. How do we keep all of that positive momentum that surrounds those things going into next season without formal games in 2020?
I mean, that's tough. It's a tricky scenario that, not just us, but literally every single team at our level is going to have to endure during this time. I think we've done a pretty good job of, keeping the digital realm, alive and going, even, once we had to first announce that the season was going to be delayed. So that although the momentum wasn't as hot as was, during the beginning of the year, we still kept that connection with our club and with our fans and our supporters. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those situations that to keep the momentum going throughout, the rest of the year, and who knows, maybe something will creep up around July or August where we can pull together, one or two kind of outings to really kind of end the year on a high note. But yeah, it'll be a challenge definitely this summer to, continue with the momentum, but I think we have enough pieces in place to at least keep our supporters engaged, let them know what's going on with the season, and to kind of work towards and strive towards a kind of a big shebang in 2021.
You can definitely expect to see a lot of online digital content. We're definitely going to fill the gap with some creative stuff with our team there. As you can see, if you follow it already, we kind of spiced it up a little bit more this year than what you normally see in the past So you'll definitely see that to kind of fill the void for the people that want something out of Oakland County Football Club. So
Yeah, if you guys are watching on Twitch, I'm sure you've seen some of the lower league E-Cup games that we've brought to you here on the channel. We're going to have a lot more of those sort of things coming along in the pipeline. Guys, you mentioned this is something that every team in the area, every team everywhere really is having to deal with. And, you know, with so many of those local teams canceling their season around the same time, and, you know, there's no shortage of teams in this area. What has that communication been like between you guys and other front offices with different clubs in the Metro Detroit area?
well, it's definitely varied a little bit from club to club. Every club operates a little bit differently. So some of the main things is how your relationship with your sponsors is established. For example, I won't name names, but you know, one team may have a sponsor that had to drop out given like the tough times in the business sector, and therefore it kind of hinders their ability to operate, you know, the way they wanted to. So it kind of pushes them towards the door when they decide to whether to have a season or not. So, and then other clubs, they have a sponsor. The sponsor is still intact. They say, what can we get out of the season? You know, you can't give us a normal season. We can't maybe play what it normally looks like a regular season, you know, 8-10 games at home and whatnot for exposure. But what can you give us? So those clubs have to get creative, and they're saying, okay, well, let's hold on to whatever we can. Let's see what we can deliver. And that's kind of one of the motivating factors of whether or not like you're gonna stick around during the season or not. And also players, it's different players are being handled in different ways. Some coaches, we got to see how college coaches want to go about whether or not they want their players to be playing in the summer with this scenario of the virus and the safety of it. So we're kind of from multiple facets are kind of pulling us in different ways, and we got to outweigh each one separately and see how it kind of comes together when we just determine whether to push through or call it quits. And so far we've been kicking the can down the road. We're trying to bring something to our supporters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the communication when it comes to like the teams and front offices was handled rather well by USL, just keeping everyone on the loop of next steps, getting everyone on calls, whether if it was, you know, weekly, it was, you know, every 2 weeks of just making sure everyone was on the same page, if there was any concerns, you know, issues coming through the pipeline. But I think in managing within our league, connecting with, you know, other owners and kind of what their thoughts were, I think that the league did a good job at facilitating that throughout the front offices in that aspect.
Again, for all our viewers, want to welcome you guys into State of the Club. We've got Nick and Theo along with us tonight. I want to remind you to drop your questions in the chat boxes, whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitch. Got some feedback coming in already. Andreas says that Theo looks like the villain in every 90s movie. Every cartoon, actually. Every cartoon. So apparently you're a cartoon villain, Theo.
Oh, man.
And there's a lot of love for the mustache. L-Train says he or she thinks that Theo has a diabolical plan.
Perhaps. We'll have to find out, you know. But time will tell.
They're loving the stash and they're loving the drapery behind you.
Oh, yeah. Very cinematic. Help the mood.
Let's keep it rolling with some questions. Guys, to sum it all up, I don't want to dwell on a canceled 2020 season, but what's the silver lining that we can take away from this?
Oh man, it's another good one. I would say the silver lining in all of it, just to kind of see how we're all on the same page in regards to, it's nice to know that everyone's on the same page in regards to wanting to put something together. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's all about the soccer and wanting to get a product out there and giving the best atmosphere for both, you know, the fans and the players. So I would take the silver lining in all this is to see how connected the soccer world is and how we're all trying to strive towards the same, I guess you could say, objective at the end of the day. As to how we get there, that's, you know, obviously based on, you know, each individual club, but it's nice to have a common goal and see how everyone can, you know, gather collectively in a time like this, definitely.
And it also builds up the anticipation twice the amount, right? Like the season isn't here yet. You have to wait one more year. So I guess in a sense, the cravings increase.
Yeah, absolutely. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So a whole year off, just as you say, leads to that more anticipation and build up for an even bigger 2021. What we mentioned a little bit, there are going to be some other things happening this summer. What other substitute activities do we have planned? Do you have anything that you want to reveal at this point?
With the club or?
With the club, with anything.
Well, we're definitely trying out some esports. We're dabbling a little bit in that, seeing where that could possibly lead. It's been fun so far. I'd say some people have taken to it and enjoyed some of the matches that we've put online, and some people it's not their thing. So they're not quite ready to watch somebody else play a video game, so it's a little bit tough. But in times like this, we figure why not? It's like almost a perfect opportunity to at least test the waters, try something new, fill that gap again. And so far it's been enjoyable. To what extent it's going to grow to, I can't say. It's we're going to kind of let it kind of run its path and see from there.
Theo, you had a big win on your birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
It was interesting. One of the opponents that had beat me prior to my match won a game 9-1. So I was like, man, that's a big spread right there. And right before I got into my match, I was told, well, let's try to beat that. Let's go double digits. And I had to ramp it up. So luckily I had a good match. Maybe my opponent wasn't as prepared, I guess you could say, as it showed. And it was 10-0 score at the end of the day.
A great birthday gift for you.
Yeah.
No mercy.
I celebrated at home, So, yeah.
Rob wants to know, will he be able to grow a stash like that when he grows up? What's your secret? What does it take?
Oh, man.
Do you have any tips?
My secret is I don't grow the stash. I just cut everything else. And then you're left with just this.
And it's funny because I cut just the stash and I leave everything else. So where yours leaves off, I'm ready to pick it up.
Yeah, it's
I've known Theo for quite some time, and when he was younger, years ago when he used to grow out the stash, he used to be a lot thinner. So he'd come out, man, that the dirty stash just coming out, going out with friends. Man, oh man, good times with that one.
Oh yeah, it was festive, I'm trying to make these sad times festive, as best I can. You're only given so many resources to work with in the confines of your house, So I ended up with this.
Another question coming in from L Train 8472. They want to know, are the players staying fit and healthy? Are they permitted to train together? I know we talked a little bit about this with Coach Vinny a couple weeks ago on our Q&A, but is there any sort of update that you guys can give us on players and what they're doing in lieu of the season here?
You want to go real quick?
Yeah, from what we've seen, and talking to Coach Vinny a little bit, some players they're definitely trying to stay active on their own. Again, they're limited to what kind of activities they can do, but we've spotted them training on their own and staying in shape to the best of their ability, at least. When it comes to all the players, there's word that some players may not be able to participate in the season from late word that we've gotten. But and for the most part, I think players that were kind of ready for the season originally are still kind of amped up and staying in shape to a certain capacity, in a sense. If we end up being able to practice outside in a larger setting, that's when we want to definitely have a couple weeks of practicing before we ever kind of take on any more formal friendly or scrimmage, in a sense. We want to make sure our players are somewhat fit, so they're not just out there, just doing whatever they can and get injured at the end of the day because their muscles weren't prepared and all that. So where it stands with that, exactly, I can't tell you at this point, but it looks like they are keeping up to some degree their fitness. I don't know, Nick, if you have...
I mean, sticking it hits a little bit, I guess, closer to home with Mario being on the team as well. I know that, guys like him that have been out of college for a couple of years, they got to kind of, stick to their own, what works best for them and their regimens for those guys out of college. And the guys in college, I'm sure they were, given their training regimens of what to do in the off season. I know, guys like Aaron Bird and like Kevin Tapchon, they're doing their online, training things to where guys can tune in and, do their own, training and whatnot. So I've seen, through the Instagram feeds and everything that there's a lot of players, both on our team and other teams that they're doing what they can with the limited resources right now to stay in as much shape as possible for what's to come.
Going back to your questions coming in, we've got a lot of them flying in now. Our friend Dan Garnell chimed in. He says he's just curious. He remembers Peter from season 1 of OCFC supporting. And he wants to know a little bit more about our lower league E-Cup players for Xbox and PS4. Were they going to be interns this year, players, or joining the ranks of the supporters?
Yeah, I guess I can speak a little bit on that. Peter, we're fortunate enough to come into contact with Peter. He was he was one of the biggest supporters. I guess first year he was part of a group called Purple Rain that was pretty vocal at the matches. So we're definitely glad to have him back. He represented us on Xbox, I believe it was, and he's in the group stages still. We're all still in group stages, and then we have. So he's coming back on board, attaching to the squad. He definitely has an affinity towards the team and feels homage there. So and then we have Will came on as an intern, and we had a spot in this lower league cup, and we said we don't have a PS4 player. Will gladly took the spot, and he's doing unbelievable. He's crushed a couple of his opponents already. He's still in group stages, but he's looking to get out soon. And then I play the PC version, so I'm in a smaller bracket, which with PC players covering the PC spot, and I'm still in group stages as well. Soon we're gonna figure out who gets out of group stages, and we'll be moving on to the brackets and all that. So if that answers that a little bit, it's kind of where it currently stands.
Livonia City FC would like to know, would you consider fall ball without college players in U.S. Open Cup qualifying season? I know it's pretty early in the game right now to start talking about what friendlies and games look like in the future, but what do you guys think?
Mr. Craig, everything's on the table right now. I mean, we're willing and open to do to participate in anything that makes sense. Obviously, both on the field and off the field. When it comes to playing games in fall, again, that's all dependent on the type of players that we can get at the time. Which we have a good network of being able to reach the players, so that's not necessarily going to be the issue. It's depending on, is it going to be a closed door match? Is it going to be something that, you're going to market to have, big fans or some attendance at? That all obviously factors into it. When it comes to Open Cup, we participated in a fall Open Cup match back when we were at Stony Creek, our first year there. And that worked well. I mean, we traveled over to Minneapolis. So that's something that we can definitely look into if it makes sense all around. I guess they're going to have to determine, what's going to happen with this qualifying now, because the Open Cup is delayed. Are they going to, just kind of say, hey, whoever's in the Open Cup this year, we're just going to do that, replicate all the teams for next year, and just kind of, unfortunately, the teams that wanted to join the run this year are going to have to wait another year. That's a possibility. But in regards to playing the fall ball and just continue the game, it just depends if everything falls in line, and everything that kind of falls in line with Michigan. Whitmer Michigan just extended their stay-at-home order 3 hours ago to May 28th. So that then there's got to be a phased approach after that. There's not another stay-at-home order. So there's a lot of little factors that come into it, because we don't want to get to a point where we're doing all this training and all this preparation just to have one game. And then it's kind of.
Yeah, no, as much as we love the sport and want to get players out there on the field, we only want to compromise our product so much to where, because we have a brand uphold, and just filling a squad to fill a squad sometimes doesn't really go with our vision. So in a sense, we have to see what kind of talent we can retain and if we feel comfortable putting that in a formal setting against other squads.
Our good friend Ben Rohde wants an update on the new USL Academy. What are your guys' thoughts?
Oh, Ben. Of course, he would ask about the USL Academy. So yesterday it was announced that the USL is kind of going to attempt, I guess you could say, to fill in that void for the academy. I'm looking at it. I'm kind of indifferent to it because we are, I would say, I don't quite a bit away, but we're a little bit away from ever potentially fielding an academy team. And Theo, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's going to be kind of down the pipeline. I like the idea of them combining, I believe it's U15, U17, and U19. I like that idea of kind of combining the best talent, not just based on age, but based on, actual talent. What worries me a little bit that a lot of teams might just be stacked with older players, and then those younger players don't get as much of that visibility. But again, that's little things that have to be tweaked out. I know I read a little bit more into it. I know a lot of things are still kind of up in the air, but I like how now, the pro clubs are going to have that opportunity to have, youth academy through their network, basically, as opposed to having other academies that exist and had to feed up into it. It all remains to be seen. It all sounds good right now. There's definitely momentum, with our league as a whole. I like the move because there is a void there. We'll see what MLS does in regards to academy. But I think overall, it was definitely a positive move. I don't see any direct cons right away to it. But again, we just kind of have to see how it goes in that first few years and how it elevates the talent in U.S. soccer.
With the way USL kind of handles their operations, it'll be exciting to see how they handle the youth side. I'll tell you that. I'll definitely be following along.
All right, another question. Apologies if I get this name wrong, but Jay Macklow has some questions about NCAA and recruiting within the state. He wants to know, have you been aggressively recruiting from the top Division I teams in Michigan? Have you been reaching out to those coaches? If so, which one do you have the best relationship with? I know this is probably more of a question for Coach Vinny, but what do you guys have to say?
Yeah, that's definitely a question for Coach Vinny. We're definitely in the loop with the the colleges that he has reached out to: Michigan State, Michigan, Butler, Western. So we definitely have. He's done his, I guess you could say, his scouting. They're both at the Division I, Division II, NAIA level. In regards to a relationship, that's definitely a Vinny question. I don't know who he has the strongest relationship with. I imagine he has a good relationship with all of them, since we've kind of we're scattered on our roster with guys from every school. So I don't know, Theo, if you have anything else in regards to some Vinny relationships.
One thing I do know, Vinny's very good with communication. He's been on top of everything ever since the beginning of the new year. I'd be astounded if another coach out there has reached out to their players more than Vinny has. He's on top of it. The only uncertainty that Vinny has at this point is not in the talent of the squad, but more so just in the current status of the virus. It's kind of like always asking, every day, is what's going to happen with this? I got players eager to go. I brought this squad. I'm excited to see how they play and build some chemistry together. It was actually very exciting ramping up to the season, seeing what kind of squad he actually put together. It was actually quite impressive. But beyond that, yeah, Vinny knows the intricacies of that. I couldn't tell you much more than that.
Let's talk about Coach Vinny. We had a little happy hour Q&A with him a couple weeks ago. The supporters and I got to know him a little bit. You guys have known him for quite a while. So how did you guys meet originally? How did you come into contact as far as bringing him on to OCFC? What does that look like?
I guess I can start. Believe it or not, I actually knew Vinny at a very young age, played youth soccer with him in the travel ranks, and He's always been a stand-up character, and he has like had a vast, career base in like the soccer realm, within like coaching youth to playing overseas and playing at the collegiate level, and just with his character and his integrity, it seemed like a good fit for what we're trying to build. We are grassroots. We need someone that doesn't just want the coaching job, but that buys into like the vision of what we're trying to build. And man, he's just as passionate as the rest of everyone involved. So it just seemed fitting.
Yeah. Everything about Vinny so far has impressed us, just as an organization as a whole. Like we vetted him out along with a couple other candidates. After it was all said and done, Vinny was the right man for the job, for where we were. We were, planning on going, and everything has been. It's been going great so far. Unfortunately, with this virus, we couldn't really see, everything that he's capable of. But we feel good about, where he's at and where we're at as a club from a coaching staff perspective.
And he's a type of a guy where, he'll reach out to any fan that has a question for him. He'll entertain any conversation that they have. He'll tell you why his formation is the way it is. He'll defend like his strategy down to the core. So it's nice to see him communicate with everyone at every level of our club as well.
Yeah, I want to be careful and not, open up second guessing the coach's strategy to all supporters. But I will say he was very open to the idea of discussing it on that Q&A that we had a couple weeks ago. He really got into it and defended his points on why he believes this is the best, and got into the flexibility of it and how he can kind of mold that depending on what kind of game it is at the moment. Fascinating stuff. Go ahead and check that out. I'm pretty sure you could bring that up on Twitch archives if you're interested in watching that. Rob Kerr, we all know Rob Kerr. He would like to know if you can say anything about the future of the OCFC youth program.
Yeah, so the youth program, I guess as a whole in the state of Michigan, it's kind of where, the men's and women's programs are. Everything's just on hold. I know tryouts were officially canceled, or they're not going to be sanctioned, insured, however, which way you want to look at it. So that's definitely throws a wrench into just the overall growth. I would say not just of our youth program, but probably every single youth program, because they have to sort through how they're going to, get new players, how they're going to evaluate the talent they had last year. So a lot of clubs are going to definitely have to get creative. I know for us specifically, we're going to have to look at it like holistically and just decide, which way the banter we're going to go in regards to, exponential growth, or we're just going to have to look at this as just kind of like another. Obviously, every year is a year of learning, but it might go a little bit slower than what we wanted to. But it is what it is. Every organization, youth organization, is going to be in this scenario. Let's just hope that all the youth organizations come out, if not better, then equally the same, without losing out on potential players and whatnot.
Theo, anything to add?
Yeah, it's in a gray area right now, so I don't want to touch too much on it, just because things may change drastically in the next upcoming weeks or whatnot. But we always vet out our options when it comes to youth. It's definitely something, to make a proper academy would always be a dream for this club, and kind of have the linkages of all that. But it's tough. It's a whole different facet. It runs completely a different operation, obviously, than the semi-pro men's team. We're trying to find ways to link it all the time and cross promote. So we'll definitely be looking at our options, that's for sure. But I don't want to say anything too prematurely on that matter.
Another question, another name that I'm probably going to get wrong. Yee Bush Crisp. That's the best guess I have. Will you guys continue working with Clawson Strikers, or do you have any plans on working with any other youth soccer clubs like DCFC does?
So yeah, right now we are, we're working with Clawson Strikers. We have our youngest team is, I guess you could say it's affiliated with them. Actually, Rob Kerr, who asked the question recently, is the youth team head coach. And, you know, just to kind of sidetrack for a second, you know, within these times, it's a little bit tough for kids especially to stay really engaged, you know, keeping their skills honed and keeping them crisp. And Rob's done a great job of, you know, connecting with both the parents and the players over Zoom calls. If not every week, again, it's every other week. You know, I'm involved in that chat that he has with the parents as well. So I see that he's very engaged with them, and, you know, he's having Zoom calls. He's giving them, you know, YouTube tutorials and different drills and whatnot to run. So it's a different time. This is like unprecedented of something like this. You always hear unprecedented times, but couldn't be more true. If now you're trying to actually coach a youth team, especially at the ages of some of these youth teams, is that they're extremely young and they're extremely raw in their talent. And this is a year of just, I don't want to say no growth, but it's going to be minimal growth for at least this half a year for a lot of the players. But in regards to the Clawson Strikers, that is, I mean, you know, that's definitely the plan for right now. Of course, as Theo alluded to, you know, things are always like open as to, you know, what's best for us as a club, what's best, you know, for the community in general. So we leave all our options open. But yeah, that's where we stand when it comes to, you know, any growth and expansion with other clubs. We're definitely not looking to, you know, partner with one organization, partner with another organization, so on and so forth. Clawson Strikers, we were very lucky to have them, or we, you know, were in their backyard, and we were very lucky to have them in our backyard. So it's like a combined effort. So with that, we've definitely grown together, and it just remains to be seen as to, you know, how big we can definitely grow our youth program, for sure.
All right, getting back to some of the chats that we've got going on, 2 separate ones. Remember, we're on Facebook and Twitch tonight. Drop us a line in the chat to chime in here. Mustafa Camera, he said, "Why is Theo looking like that?" with a couple of crying laughing emojis. Shout out to Inter Detroit in the Twitch chat. Andreas wants to know, now that Inter Detroit is in the house, when can we expect another friendly, guys? Anything to reveal here about it?
we had one in the books. Making it happen is still going to be on our docket. We hope to make that a reality. Inter Detroit's always been great to work with, you know, another passionate club that's local and good for the sport in general. So we like to, you know, put them on our stage, and, you know, they're a great support as well. They offer a great game day experience. I mean, last time we had a game with them, they brought out their own crowd. We had ours. It was a special, like, unique feeling for our crowd to see another crowd across the field like that. And I think they enjoyed it, and vice versa. So I think you can see something coming out of this, as long as we're allowed to, as long as the state actually allows us to hold that game. I think we can work something out there.
Yeah, you mentioned them bringing a crowd. They and the Bucks, really the only 2 teams that I can remember last year that you know, actually had some opposing fans, and that made it
a noticeable amount where you could say, okay, they might not be an OCFC fan, because some other teams, they'd bring some stragglers, but they just kind of blend in the crowd somewhere and
right,
a little not so vocal.
Right, but those 2 stand out on their own, and do, as you say, make for an even better game day experience. We mentioned the trickiness of planning these friendlies and them maybe not being open to the public. Is there any possibility, I know again it's tough to say right now, but is there any possibility of maybe a behind closed doors friendly that's available on streaming for the fans to still watch online?
Yeah, I think that's something, I mean, that's actually something we talked about as a league when before it was concluded that we were going to cancel the season, is having just a closed door season with, you know, a limited amount of games. It's all dependent on, I mean, so many factors. If, you know, it depends on if you can get, you know, groups together, social distancing, and by groups I literally mean like the 2 teams together, like in close proximity.
Yeah.
because you can't slide tackle a guy from 6 feet away and stay.
Very few people can do that.
Yeah. So things like that. And then a big factor, I think it's really not looked at as much as it should be, is the venues. I mean, you got to find the right venues then to be able to hold like a stream when it comes to internet. You got to get the right, everything's got to align. Basically that way, like everything's got to align. So it's definitely an option. It just depends on if everything aligns when it comes to now. Cities got to be open to renting their fields out, or facilities got to be open to renting their fields out. Is there, new insurance that's got to be filled out for some of these clubs now if anything happens, on the field of play. And then overall, like usual, I mean, you got to make sure the connection's right. You don't want a choppy stream. I mean, if the point is to hold behind the closed doors, I mean, you're going to want a high quality, nice visual. And if that's not there, then at the point now you're just playing a game that really like no one can see. So now you're just playing for the sake of playing. So
and I mean, I know our coach Vinny, he did talk about if we can't host a game in front of a crowd, he does want the team to still build chemistry. He wants them to kind of get that camaraderie, so that like next year when they band the guys together, that there's at least something there. We're a new team at this level. We have a lot of new guys joining the roster, so to kind of have some cohesion, at least play it out for that reason alone. And then we'll try to bring it to the fans however we can. However we're allowed to, we'll do our best.
Theo, you mentioned that we're new to this level. How exciting is it just for you guys personally to be taking this club to new levels and seeing the growth that you've been able to put together over the past few years?
Oh man, well Nick and I and we're just as big as fans as anyone else that shows up on game day. It's in our heads, all we do is try to build what we think we'd want to see if we weren't the owners. It's if we came to a game day and we walked through the front doors, we'd say, what would we want here? And that's kind of how we build it. So to see something go at this level, I can only guess what it means to other people that come enjoy our games. And for Nick and I, Nick's been at it a long time, facilitating teams ever since, as he got out of high school. And, now it's been like 13 years. And to get to this point, it feels good.
Yeah, just to add to that, there's no better feeling than being able to, as an owner, sit, with your fans and seeing people around you where you don't know who they are, but they all have one thing in common, and that's, supporting the club that, we all built like together. So it's definitely a surreal feeling to where we were, as a club, and, how every year, how that exposure just grows year after year and that support grows year after year. Little things. It's funny. We've always had an issue with beating Carpathia, always an issue. And kickers, always had an issue beating Carpathia. And last year, I felt as though that first game, we outplayed them like throughout literally the entire game. Hit the post twice. I think Mike hit the post twice. Yeah. We just couldn't get one in, and lo and behold, a player from their team, Alex Serwaka, who happened to play for us 2 years ago, scores on us. So little things like that, and then for us to, then be able to kind of pull it together, be like, it's going to be another one of those, we controlled it all. The crowd got into us, starting getting a little restless, and we scored a goal in the 90th minute. That goal that Nick Metcalf scored was probably one of the best goals that that I've been a part of, next to when Sean scored in Toledo. But that's a whole other story. But that goal against Carpathia was chilling. I was going crazy in the stands, absolutely nuts in the stands. Theo was going crazy. Like, if he would have had the mustache, people would have just like, no doubt.
Explosion.
People would have got way out of Theo's way how crazy he was going after that.
Yeah, that really was one of the most memorable moments from 2019. And it's funny, I work with Alex Serwaka, our day jobs.
Oh, yeah.
We work together. So it was very cool for me to go in the office the next day and say, hey, nice goal, bud.
It's a small idea.
There from last year. Jay Mecklow is chiming in again. Says you guys do have a lot of great things on game days, bouncy houses, great food, face painting, massage tables. Any new ideas, any new exciting ideas for game days in the future?
We actually did. It's a shame it couldn't come to fruition possibly this year, but we were looking at some cool stuff at halftime with our sponsors, maybe some games at halftime that they wanted to perform. One was idea was possibly a deal or no deal type of scenario. Other than that, we were looking at enhancing our stream, bringing it possibly in-house and doing it, for the foreseeable future that way, and to give a better product to people all around that can't make it to the game, or for footage for players for their CVs or resumes that they wanted to cut clips or whatnot. From there, I'm not sure, Nick, if there's anything else off the top of our head that we had to
Yeah,
add.
we were gonna expand on the tailgate a little bit more over at Zioli's. So we're gonna make that a little bit more interactive. We're working on a shuttle to get a shuttle from Zioli's over to the field, because that walk is a little bit far. It's a little bit further than when we first popped up shop in Clawson. That walk like over to Zioli's, but getting a shuttle there, that would have been like definitely an added twist to everything.
Almost like a dual purpose as well, also for transportation for players for away games. Really just up the level a little bit all around with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are probably the major things. I mean, we always tweak it every year. We always see what didn't work and try to tweak it, our marketing, tactics and whatnot. But those are the major things that probably would have been different, along with the talent level, in a sense.
A couple of people on Facebook that we want to mention. Shout out to Trust member Greg Childs.
Hey,
Greg.
Hey, Greg.
And Theo, Brendan Staines has a direct question for you. What's up with the mustache, my dude? No shortage of love.
I don't know. It's my mustache gets more love than I do. I don't know. It's a separate entity. I don't know. I'll have to have a conversation with my mustache later and say, how do you do it,
Dan White Vans, what can you tell us about our new digital media guy?
Oh, our new digital media guy. Oh, Mr. Ben.
Yeah, I don't know if Ben posed that question with just like a name. I don't know who Dan White Vans is.
So I'll go through we had a little time here. I'll go for the long story, but I'll try to keep it short. Ben had actually applied through our our internship portal, and I reached out to Theo because Ben had a really nice resume coming out of Eastern, and I was like, hey Theo, because we were always it's been a lot of everything has been, to be blunt, it's all been behind it, all in-house, all our social. We haven't had every year. It's it's exchanged hands of the digital realm. So we definitely wanted to find someone who is going to kind of take control of that. And in reviewing Ben's resume, it was exactly what we were looking for. So we met him. Theo, where did we meet him? Was it Desert Oasis?
Detroit. It was Desert Oasis in Detroit.
Yeah, so
we met parking, but we got lucky.
That was awful. He showed us a few examples of some of his work, and it was from there the rest is history. He's done some ideas when it comes from the schedule to doing Vinny with the Dragon Ball Z thing on his eyes, and all that, those little things you wouldn't actually think of when it comes to keeping the the fan base engaged. He's done it and some. He had some, along with the team he has a group of interns under him as well. He had a plethora of things that he was going to do for the season time to really captivate the audience, both during game and after the game. But Ben's been he's been definitely everything we've wanted and more. Just everyone that we've added to the organization, we've been thoroughly pleased. That's from Robert, Dan, Ben. So you. So everyone who's been in it has been great. And adding Ben, just another piece to the puzzle, definitely.
Yeah, if I can give a shout out to Ben real quick, he creates things that don't even enter my mind. So it's pleasant. It's been a pleasant experience.
Yeah, and it is nice to have somebody, like you say, that has that consistency, that can kind of take the club's digital presence and kind of run with it. And we have seen a lot of great feedback from other teams, fans of other clubs. A lot of people giving a lot of love for Ben, so shout out to Ben.
Yeah, if you ever have free time, we're trying to push also the YouTube channel these days, and he throws all of it on YouTube. I mean, if you guys ever get bored, you're out there trying to find something to take you down the rabbit hole, go onto YouTube, go to Oakland County FC, go through all the videos, check out his work. He's unique. It's good.
Yes, and subscribe to us too.
Oh yeah.
Guys, we mentioned Zioli's and the potential for expanding that, pregame and postgame meeting up there. What else? We have plenty of sponsors here at OCFC. What can we do in these strange times? I hate that saying. During these difficult times.
Unprecedented.
Yeah, but with all that's going on, what can we do to help those sponsors out right now?
I mean, Zioli's. I don't want to say this is like an easier answer for Zioli's as opposed to other sponsors. Zioli's being the restaurant, they've done a fantastic job of with their deals and offers when it comes to carry out. I've ordered dinner from Zioli's a couple times, and that's been fantastic. For Zioli's, it's order their carry out. They got great food. Everything about Zioli's has been awesome. I mean, they even through our supporters group, the Emerald Elite, they worked directly with Scott over at Zioli's, and we were able to, as an organization, the supporters rounded up a bit of money, and we were able to work with Zioli's to give us some meals for Royal Oak and Beaumont. So they're looking out for the community as the community is looking out for them. So that's basically as much as you can, even if it's like a little bit. Just to kind of, and that goes for any really small business, just all together, try to support them, in this time, because I mean, this is now extending to, May 28th. So this is another month of this and then that foreseeable future after that, because the effect of everything. So just try to support as much as, possible, even if it's just, a shout out on social media for them, even if you can't give them anything like monetarily, a simple shout out, I think goes a long way.
Well, they have been doing there's a family deal for $50. It's been pretty popular. I think some of our supporters have actually talked about, they've picked up that meal and said it's actually quite worth the money. So that's a quick one. That's a quick way to help it. If you're looking for food and you want to try something different, they have like a $50 family meal.
What's your guys' favorite dish at Zioli's?
Oh man, it's outside the pizza, because I guess that's like an easy one.
I was gonna say the pizza
to say pizza, even though they have a pizza with a fried egg on it. That's pretty cool. I think it's the Four Seasons. It's unique. You definitely want to check that one out. But aside from that, I don't know. So, what would it be? Had the burger.
I always get the pizzas. I'm always getting the pizzas. They cut. There's beforehand there's like with the bread and like the olives and the little like dipping they have for all the bread. That's always like a good choice. But the pizza is always, you can't go wrong with the pizza there. I mean,
the muffaletta sandwich.
What's that?
The muffaletta sandwich, if I'm saying that correctly, that's also a good one. I think it's like, it reminds you of that spread you're talking about with the olives and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, they had chicken marsala and obviously like mastacholi and all that. It's, in a regular, I guess you could say regular, like Italian meal. I've never been, disappointed with Zioli's at all.
Especially their staff. Their staff is like amazing. Yeah. They remember who you are when you go in there. It's, it's like family in there. It's great. It's always been pleasant.
Absolutely. Go check out Zioli's in downtown Clawson. Order their carry out right now, because really that's all you can do. But once they open back up, go check them out. Guys, we're getting down to the end, so let's have a little bit of fun. I know both of you are transitioning out of your playing days, but if it came down to it, you feel confident suiting up for a game?
I guess if I had to speak on that first, I'm coming off of my second ACL surgery, so
that's an excuse.
So I've been using the prior months to get back into even somewhat decent shape, but I definitely don't want to stop playing. But to the level of these top levels, I don't know, man. It's impressive what these guys pull off, and I fall somewhere in the gray area between not playing and these guys. So, but I will play forever until my knees just completely get amputated or my leg just gets cut off or something.
I was talking about this last night. And I go, right now, like today, not like, after all this is done, try to get in shape a little bit. For a 90-minute match, I'd maybe last like 11 minutes, and that's like playing like left back. Like, there's just no way. Over 30 field, over at Royal Oak on a boarded field, I could probably go like, 20 minutes without a sub. But then after that, I'm gassed after that.
Yeah, I'm with him on that one.
Violated.
It's tough.
So stamina is the issue, not the skill. You still got the skill.
I'd like to think that at least.
Okay. So super sub, we can bring you on 70th minute and you're good.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna score the game winner.
Just pick me out of the crowd. Ready? I'm always ready.
Oh man, so we've got about 10 minutes left here. I know mainly it's just been questions. Is there anything in particular that you guys haven't, had a chance to answer that you did want to mention here as this state of the club kind of wraps up?
In what sense? I
don't know. I mean, this is your guys' forum to kind of speak to the supporters, give them an update on, anything that you guys have going on behind the scenes that you want to.
Yeah, I mean, well, now that we have the time, in a sense, it'd be nice to hear from the supporters and the trust members what they would like to get out of things. Maybe it's a good time to start working on some new initiatives as well. This is not so cookie cutter with what to do in this scenario, so
yeah,
we really just want to provide for them so they can get as good of an experience as everyone else. So if they can give comments, it doesn't have to be in public. You can send us private messages, something that you'd like to see from the club. Nick and I are pretty malleable at trying to make it happen if it's feasible. It's hard to know sometimes and guess what people want if they don't necessarily verbalize it. So I guess I would just have an ask to feel free to shout out anything, even if you think it's ridiculous, let us know. We'll work with it.
And what's the best way to get a hold of you guys?
That's a good question. The social media handles are usually pretty decent. Facebook or Instagram messages will usually get to us pretty quick. Twitter as well. That's super instant. Or email. Email also works. Nick and I are both on the email. It's on our website, oaklandcountysd.com. So that's also another alternative.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the little open time we have, I guess just a small shout out. So we had both in the month of April, we had an initiative to gather as many apparel sales, as possible, and donating 20% of that over to a local charity. That local charity is going to be chosen by our supporters trust. So we're just gathering some charities that might be near and dear to them. We're going to kind of gauge exactly how we're going to go about, giving that over to a charity. But that's something we're very, thankful for, all the fans that, bought apparel, and then we're going to turn that around, for a good cause. And on top of that, we were going to, we had about 7 or 8 people that were not, or that, input there, I guess you could say, registration for a place on the board, their nomination, for the place on the trust board. But with everything going on right now, we saw, 2, then 3, then 4 people drop out of the running just because they just didn't have time to do it with everything going on. So we put that on hold for right now for the board. We're definitely going to do it. We're definitely going to have a board in place we just have to decide what's going to go on with this season when it comes to matches or whatnot. And then once we get everything kind of back into normalcy, and then we'll open that back up again for those that wanted to, run for a nomination that now have the time to do so. We want to give everyone a fair shot at it and not just select people just based on, the scenario at hand, really.
And from talks earlier today with Nick and I, around June 1st, we'll have a pretty good update on how we may approach things going forward. Until then, we're going to kind of ride the wave and see kind of what the situation looks like until then.
Great, yeah, and I was going to mention that and ask if you guys had any sort of an update on the Supporters Trust Board. So excellent work there, Nick, for tossing that in there. I did have one more question. I think that's going to be maybe about all the time that we have. Unless anybody can get any last minute questions in the chat rooms on Facebook or Twitch. Guys, what are you most looking forward to now that there isn't a season? Do you have more of an opportunity to get some of the administrative stuff done? What are some of those things that maybe are put on the back burner as the season is rapidly approaching, but now that the season is delayed and canceled, you have more time to do some of this behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you can never have enough time for like the administrative aspect of it, because there's a lot of, marketing formulations you can put together. If you have unlimited time, you can come up with unlimited possibilities. Looking forward to, there's not really anything we're looking forward to. When this was, when was it, February again, like we were at a really good place with our planning for the season, both on an administrative side and a sponsorship side. We actually probably at our best place we've ever been, like as a club, in regards to like just everything organized and really a vision that we wanted to instill for this season. But I guess it's just better. We got more planning, another year, kind of under our belt, where we can kind of pick up, depending on what we do, for the rest of the year here, we can pick up where we left off in regards to planning. I mean, everything's going to be different. It's definitely going to be different. Just the way we go about marketing and all that jazz is just going to be a little bit different, just for the rest of the year, just naturally. But we got some time on our hands now, and I can tell you, you and I, we usually don't have much time like on our hands in between, our personal lives and now our professional lives. There's a lot going on. I would say, I guess we got, worst case, we got our summer back, but there's nothing to do now. So that's kind of, where everything stands.
Yeah, long story short, I would just say going into next season, it'll just be more comfortable, because we'll have most of it crafted already for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can speak for just the club and maybe even our fans or supporters in general. We were absolutely pumped, for this season coming up, just seeing, the marketing that the league was doing ever since we went over to for the league meetings over in Florida. We were super excited for what was to come, excited to play, teams like the Bucks and Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, and, Louisville, and all those teams. We were really excited to finally be, part of this massive, this hotbed of talent. We always were, but this is, to the eye, this is just like that one step above, the rest. And we were really looking forward to that. We were really excited. But as Theo said, when we first opened, that anticipation is just going to build literally throughout the rest of the summer, the fall, and the winter, and then gauging up until next year.
All right, guys, we got about a minute left, 30 seconds each. Closing thoughts, final statements.
If you don't follow our social handles, please do. If you don't follow our Twitch, it's a new initiative that we've thrown together just in the recent couple months. Please add an account on Twitch, follow that. It's the best way to engage. As you can see, when we come up with content, there's a chat room, and it's the quickest way to go back and forth between people that have issues, questions, excitement. It's super engaging. Check out our YouTube. That's all I can say at the moment of what to check out. Keep checking out, keep posted with us in all of our posts. It's we're doing what we can, given what we get.
Yeah, and I guess maybe just to quickly touch on for the players, that we're going to come in. We're definitely bummed in looking at the roster that Coach Vinny and the staff put together. It was going to be something really special. And I'm going to speak, on behalf of Vinny here. We had a conversation with him, early in the year, regardless of what happens for the summer when it comes to games or whatnot. He's going to make it a commitment to the players that those that are committed to next season, we're taking them back. This is kind of we're not going to use this against them in any aspect. Of course, if they change their mind and they can't do it anymore, then it is what it is. But we're going to give everyone that opportunity that we committed to this year to be on the squad for next year. So they're going to have their position, I guess you could say, saved for them. But again, there are oh gosh, plenty of spots like still available, like good, definitely a decent handful of spots still available that we were hoping to fill through tryouts. But again, that's just on hold until next year. So I thought that was a great suggestion by the coach to want to bring back those players, just not make them suffer, I guess, for not having a season. So I definitely like that gesture that he gave. Oh, and Ben, I know you're on this because I can see you're on mute. You have to do something editing wise after this, the highlights. It's got to be just like a Theo mustache, just like 1 minute, just, music video.
Oh, man.
Something on there. I can't, like, every time I look down,
The mustache.
just see like, boom, stash. That's all I see. Literally.
Boom.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a keeper.
On that note, everyone, thanks for
Thank you.
watching State of the Club with Nick and Evil Theo with the mustache. We'll hope to see you guys sooner rather than later. In the meantime, be safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.